This shocking footage shows the brutal aftermath of the violent gang-style attack that left 3 people dead. Among them, South African music artist Upa John Sofoka, better known by his professional name, DJ Sumbody. But what if DJ Sumbody's death was no ordinary gang hit? What if it was ordered by some of the highest-ranking players in what many refer to as the South African mafia? According to some reports, they are known only as the Big Five. Their criminal tentacles reach all the way to the highest levels of government and law enforcement. They don't have contacts in the police. They own the police. But now, they are facing a formidable enemy, not a rival gang, not an international cartel, but a man who many hail as South Africa's new hero.
And this syndicate involves, amongst others, politicians who are currently serving in Parliament. The law enforcement officers include the members of the South African Police Service.
Under Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, big names like politician Kenny Kunene and crime kingpins Katiso Molefe and Kat Matlala have already been named and arrested in connection with the DJ Sumbody case. But what about the names that police have so far refused to share? At least 10 celebrities have also been targeted in the same violent manner as DJ Sumbody. But who are they? While the police are yet to release any names, external sources have now confirmed at least 3 of those artists. On February 14th, 2022, Sandile Mkhize, aka DJ Citi Lyts, was shot 10 times in the streets of Soweto. Just 1 week later, Heavy Pablo was shot down in a parking lot at Sandton Mall. According to several reports, the same weapon was used in both the slayings of Msimango and Mkhize. Then, barely 3 weeks after that, South African TikTok star Hector Buthelezi, aka DJ Vintos, was reportedly shot 21 times. 7 of those shots were all to the back of his head. Just a few months later, in November 2022, DJ Sumbody would suffer the same fate after his car was riddled with 48 bullets. What's clear in each case is that these aren't just random eliminations. These are organized attacks that all share the same MO, to make it as bloody and as violent as possible to send a clear message. But how do celebrities find themselves on a hit list that include rival gangs and whistleblowers? According to new and terrifying revelations by a South African newspaper, it all started in late 2021. Just months before the first celebrity was shot down, 200 million rand worth of coke, weighing 541 kilograms, mysteriously went missing from Hawks custody in KwaZulu-Natal. Many believe it was an inside job by members of the Hawks themselves. What no one knew at the time was that it would lead to one of the bloodiest sprees of public shootings that the country has ever seen, because that half a ton of stolen coke didn't belong to just anyone. It reportedly belonged to one of the most violent crime syndicates in Mzansi, the Big Five. Some believe that 2 of the main kingpins in this deadly syndicate are none other than Katiso Molefe and Kat Matlala themselves.
Politicians, they borrow money from them, like your Vusi Matlala, T. Molefe, and others. The so-called Big Five, they are feared. And a lot of names, they're still going to come out, by the way.
The stolen contraband soon found its way from KZN to the nightclub scene in Gauteng, where it was sold at far below street value. Dealers who had got their hands on the product needed to get rid of it, and fast. That's when they allegedly approached DJ Sumbody. His role was simple: to set up a meeting with a Cape Town businessman whose identity cannot be revealed. But what these dealers thought would lead to a multi-million rand deal would only lead to a bloodbath. They had just signed their own death warrants. As the saying goes, you are guilty by association. So fearing for his own life, it was allegedly that same businessman who had ratted these dealers out to the Big Five. The punishment for all involved was swift, severe, and brutally violent. Unfortunately for DJ Sumbody, his name was added to the hit list. No matter how small his involvement, he knew too much. And in South Africa's underbelly, it's cheaper to silence someone with a bullet than with a payoff. The Big Five did not only want their product back, they wanted to send a message. And each message had the same calling card. It was public, it was bloody, and it was done in typical mafia style, with several shooters littering their victims with bullet holes. It was these same mafia-style shootings that would eventually uncover the true extent and reach of these underworld crime lords. On the morning of April the 17th, 2024, Armand Swart could be seen on CCTV footage as he pulled up to work, followed by this white Hyundai. What happened next is too violent to show. 3 hitmen unleashed a barrage of fire on Armand's vehicle. He was shot 23 times, and their mission? To silence a Transnet whistleblower who had uncovered an inflation scheme worth more than 1.2 million rand. But it turned out to be a case of mistaken identity. They had eliminated the wrong person. Swart was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. That investigation led to the arrest of several suspects. What really struck fear into South African citizens was that one of the suspects, Michael Poole Tau, was a police detective with 30 years on the force. That is the harsh reality of the level of corruption in the country. When police officers turn hitmen, 2 of the suspects were also tied to other high-profile murders, including that of DJ Sumbody, and the criminal mastermind who had ordered his hit was Katiso Molefe. When a special task force arrived at Molefe's home to take him into custody, they found high-ranking politician Kenny Kunene at his house. To this day, Kunene swears that he does not know Molefe personally, but his excuses for being there that day have been widely condemned as laughable at best. And if we start connecting the dots for ourselves, a scary picture emerges. As soon as the arresting officers showed up to Molefe's property, a helicopter from the Gauteng Traffic Department was seen hovering overhead. This once again shows how deep Molefe and his crime syndicate's ties to high-ranking officials are, because one man with the authority to order a helicopter to disrupt the arrest was right there on the scene, Kenny Kunene himself.
The helicopter story makes me question the involvement of Kenny Kunene, because he's the MMC for transport in Gauteng. Why and how was the helicopter from the Gauteng Traffic Department at the scene of the arrest?
But Molefe's ties aren't only limited to politicians. Within moments of the arresting officers arriving on the premises, someone made a direct call to the personal cell phone of Lieutenant General Godfrey Labaya, who at the time was the head of the Hawks. He immediately dispatched his own Hawks officers to the scene to disrupt the arrest. Many believe that General Labaya wanted to stop the arrest altogether. Both Labaya and Kunene deny any personal connections to Molefe, but the evidence shows otherwise. And internet sleuths were also quick to dig up some dirt, sharing this photo with who appears to be Molefe and Kunene together at a nightclub some years back. Another name linked to the same dark criminal underworld is Kat Matlala. Just like Molefe, he has ties everywhere, even all the way up to Senzo Mahunu, who had only recently been forced to step down as Minister of Police when his dirty dealings with Matlala had been exposed. For instance, Matlala was awarded a staggering 360 million rand health tender by the South African police, but it was all a scam to steal millions of rands from the Timbiso hospital. Matlala's tender inflation scheme was similar to the Transnet inflation scheme that led to the murder of Armand Swart. Matlala's scam was finally exposed by whistleblower Babita De Karan, and you can probably already guess what happened to her. She suffered the same violent end as Armand Swart, DJ Sumbody, and everyone else who gets in the way. Both Molefe and Matlala have a long criminal history of violence, fraud, and coercion that date back decades. It's well documented and reported. Anyone in a law enforcement position will know that these men are career criminals. Despite that, Molefe seems to have high-ranking politicians like Kunene and even Hawks officers in his pocket. On the other hand, Matlala had his fingers deep in the South African police service, with close ties to both previous ministers of police, running police units like a puppet master. The murder cases of DJ Sumbody and Armand Swart have exposed a can of worms that is rotting away at all corners of South African government. An unprecedented scale of corruption that reaches all the way to parliament, to politicians, and even turning police officers into mercenaries. The question is, when will it stop, and who will stop it? Is General Mkhwanazi finally the hero that South Africa needs?
There are men and women out there that are vulnerable. They've got no one to protect. So we can't be worried about our own safety. We must worry about the safety of the citizens. So ours is to go out there and lay our life to protect them. That is my only concern right now.